if you conversant with the MainOne project, I think right from inception, the objective has always been to bridge the digital divide between Africa and the rest of the world. So when we designed the initial system, we designed it with branching units into multiple countries across West Africa, with the objective of connecting the inland countries through those branching units at the shore, in partnership with operators who have existing fiber optic cable system in terrestrial cable system into the countries and into those connected, unconnected actually, countries inland. So we have 6 of those branching units. The first one is out of Tenerife. The second one is in Morocco. Third one is in Dakar. It points towards Dakar. The fourth one points towards Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire. And the fifth one is into Ghana. And the sixth one is into Nigeria. So we've deployed Nigeria and Ghana in the past. Okay. And I also remember that I was on this show at some point talking about the deployment into Cameroon in conjunction with Camtel. What we're doing at the moment, in partnership, again, with Orange, is deploying 2 of those branching units into Dakar, Senegal. It's about 200 kilometers of wetland build and landing infrastructure in country in Dakar. And another one into Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, which is about 186 kilometers of subsea build. What we've done so far is we signed a partnership with Orange, which you're aware of. We've also signed a vendor contract with Tyco, who design and deploy the initial system that we have. We're deploying this as well after a very thorough RFP process, I must say. And we have partners in Cote d'Ivoire as well that we will be providing services to. And I think the system should be live in the third quarter of 2019.
You actually just answered that question. I was just going to ask, when are we really going to see completion when it comes to this particular project? Talk us through the increasing demand for internet access, across West Africa. I know in the past, the conversation has been around improving, penetration really in most communities in Africa. What has changed in the past few years?
In a few years, a few interesting things have changed. Okay. Not at desired levels yet, but there has been significant growth. And we've been behind that growth in conjunction with other partners.
Being behind the growth means you're also aware of the challenges. What do you think is slowing down that growth?
Well, let me talk about the growth first. Because I mean, the positives. With every market there are challenges. But the positive is that we're seeing, through our effort and the efforts of our partners, we're seeing a lot of regional traffic growth, which is quite impressive, meaning that, of course, the destination for most of the traffic, internet traffic out of Africa is still Europe, I must say that, but we're seeing a lot of growth between these countries in terms of traffic destinations from one to the other. It does speak volume to the level of regional integration that we're seeing, economic, social, cultural, but it also gives a sense of how we're getting, maybe I should call it broadband inclusion for a lot of the countries that are not actually shore-end countries, inland countries. So we have services across 9 countries at the moment without adding Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire to it. So we're able to provide services to customers in Burkina Faso, in Chad, in Cameroon, in Niger, as far away as that. But this also shows that there's a lot more awareness, I think, driven by social media and mobile networks. People are getting a lot more closer to the internet, and it's a lot more affordable than it used to be a few years ago. But it is not there yet. Now, talking about the challenges, I think what we're doing with Orange in Cote d'Ivoire and Senegal demonstrates the trend, the ongoing trend for most of the large networks to see partnership as the way to go and shared infrastructure as the way to go in deepening penetration and reducing cost of services to consumers. So that's a major paradigm shift in terms of the way services are delivered. Now, a lot of the markets are not as liberalized as one would expect, but with collaborations like this, we're trending towards more liberalization in those markets, and it's helping to drive more availability for consumers. But there are still challenges with liberalizing the markets, because once you get the capacity to the shore, there are still challenges with the access network where you need to move the services closer to the end user. We will continue to work with a lot of these providers, but that's a major challenge and it pervades all of the region. Better in some countries than others, because in Ghana...
But it can be resolved, yes?
It is being resolved. I mean, that's why you're seeing the growth that we currently have at the moment. But it's a lot more can be done with policies, with more collaborations like the one we're doing with Orange. I think the markets would continue to see more and more inroads into consumers.
Let's talk about those policies and what you think should be reviewed now, really. I mean, if we are going to take that leap.
Okay. To be honest, it's more and more liberalization of access, infrastructure.
Okay.
So
infrastructure is, I mean, that's a major challenge.
It's a major challenge, and the reality is trying to resolve it alone as an operator brings cost and brings duplication. When you resolve it in partnership with collaborating operators, it reduces the cost. But then there's also the bottleneck of working through government institutions who, in certain cases, or in most cases, needs to give you access.
Because I was really going to ask that question. Now, when you say partnership, is it with the private sector now or with the government?
Not just private sector.
Of course, provide that infrastructure.
It is both ways. I mean, if there's a willingness on the part of the private sector to collaborate, you also need the government's buy-in to make access to some of the, critical assets, the right-of-ways, to be able to build this infrastructure that would connect the end user to the services.
Talk about right away, that's still a challenge, really?
It is a challenge.
But I guess the government would really have their reasons, let me put it that way. But let me just ask about this field, really. I mean, there are communities that haven't been reached yet. And for every milestone, this is major if you ask me, for every milestone, for every community that you get to connect with, what's the feeling like, really? I mean, what really translates in those communities?
I'll ask you that question. What does it translate to you the moment you can pick up your phone, go to WhatsApp?
I'm used to it now.
You're used to it now.
So really, I really can't feel any different right now.
Well,
I really can't feel any different.
It's a transition from have not to have. So the level of have increases as you get more and more services closer to the consumer. It's not just about the internet or social media. There's a lot more that can be done, innovation, entrepreneurship, that we're trying to drive through broadband connectivity. But it's always accelerating. I mean, more and more people. I mean, I was talking to a customer who needs to connect to service in Mali a few days ago and said, look, I saw the announcement. You guys need to be able to connect us in Mali. We can't even send, we can do video conference calls out of Mali at the moment because the service is not good. But I have your service in Ghana, in my mine in Kumasi, and it has made life a lot more easier and business a lot more easier to do. So the feedback from the consumer is always, once you breach that access gap and the service is in front of them, it can only get better. It can only get better.
I'm also going to tell you what really puts a smile on my face, or what I call it, that first time feeling, is when I get to use so much data and I pay so little. And of course, you mentioned pricing there. It's really very key. How do we begin to crash this cost? I mean, data, it's the new it. Really, how can we crash that cost going forward?
Again, the model is to reduce the cost of providing the service, first and foremost. Of course, I mean, if policymakers get more people to use the service, it means that you've got volume, and you can leverage that volume with reduced pricing per unit. But also, I mean, if you keep duplicating infrastructure, I mean, everything we do at MainOne, we try so much to ensure that we provide for self and we provide shared services. Other people can use it so that the cost of providing service continues to decrease. Because you're not going to get to all those millions of people at a price point with the quality of the average person's pocket that you have in today's West Africa. So the more and more people do things like we're doing with Orange, where we're building, we're investing, they're also co-investing, rather than build a new cable system. They get on our cable system, they share assets on the cable system, which is their line fallow, by the way, at the moment. So they put a lot more cost, a lot less cost into deploying services, and they can get to the consumer and reduce the price to the consumer as well.
Interesting. Well, in a nutshell, what's the plan moving forward for MainOne? What else should we be expecting?
Well, we're planning to do more shared services again. In Cote d'Ivoire, in Ghana, we're doing data centers, similar to what we've done in Nigeria, which is a tier 3 infrastructure, uptime certified.